Call the meeting to order. Will you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance. May I have a roll call, please?
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Here?
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Here.
Kurtz,
Here.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mayor, we do have an item on the agenda under closed session for the real estate discussion that I would like to pull from the agenda. Number 8.
Item number 8. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the revised agenda.
Thank you. Motion by Kurtz.
Second.
Second by Scharf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose the same. Pose the same. Got to slow down again, don't I, Deb? Okay, thank you. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is proclamation, the City of Independence. We have somebody here that's representing St. John's. Okay. Do you have a copy of this? Do you want to read it into the record, or you want me to? Okay. Would you come forward, introduce yourself, and speak right into the microphone, and then I'll let you read the proclamation itself.
Good evening, Mayor Davis and City Council members. My name is Katie Finnegan, and I'm an 8th grader at St. John's School. I want to thank you for taking time this evening to sign the proclamation announcing Catholic Schools Week, January 26th to February 1st, 2020. I'm excited to have the opportunity to speak to you about Catholic schools and St. John's School in particular. The Catholic schools of our nation have a long tradition of providing a religious foundation and strong academic education for all children. Additionally, Catholic schools work to promote the social, emotional, physical, and artistic development of children they serve. St. John's has been a wonderful place for me to attend school from my kindergarten through 8th grade. Going to St. John's is like being part of a big family. Everyone knows each other, and we help and support our classmates and the younger children. For example, the 8th graders are buddies with the kindergarten class. We learn how to be giving and caring in our interactions with each other as we help our little buddies. I also feel very fortunate to have been able to practice my faith every day in the classroom and at Mass once a week. There are so many opportunities for every child at St. John's. Everyone is allowed to participate and encouraged to do their best in classes like STEM and special field trips, such as attending the 3-day Y Camp at Boone, Iowa. We have access to current technology like 3D printers and robotics, and have access to a large library with a wide range of literature and nonfiction selections. We are encouraged and given opportunities to do service projects for others, such as the food chain our students and faculty participated in during November when we donated and delivered hundreds of pounds of food to the local food pantry. Students are well prepared for high school and beyond through their academic and service experiences at St. John's. Thank you for your continued support of our school and for recognizing our yearly celebration of Catholic Schools Week for 2020.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Do I need to actually read the proclamation into record? or-
Only if you'd like to.
Okay. Does anybody want me to actually read what the proclamation says? I think she pretty much covered everything on this. Do you want me to read it? Okay. Do we need photo ops for this? Would you guys like to have a picture or anything for your records? I need to take a little trip. Get my exercise.
Telling you, the price is right. Come on. Okay, smile, we're gonna be in the back.
Barbara, why don't you get a picture with him?
Remember to smile in the background.
You guys need copies of it? I need a pen to finish writing the dates. What is today? 27th.
Seventh.
Don't you ask.
You need a copy that will get you after. This one we had to have for our records, but we can leave one and get it to you. That would be fine. Okay, thank you very much for coming, appreciate it, thank you.
Nice job, Brady. Did a nice job. Killed it.
You guys only realize how hard it is for me to get in and out of this chair when my feet don't touch the ground. Do we have anybody in? Okay, nothing on the public comments, so. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda that motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: minutes of the January 13th, 2020 regular meeting and the 2019 annual gambling report.
I make a motion to approve it.
Thank you. Motion by Kurtz.
Second.
Second by Scharf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I didn't hear.
I didn't hear.
Are you on there, Deb?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, the same, motion carried. Next, I need a motion to approve the bills for payment.
So moved.
Motion by O'Loughlin,
Second.
second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same, motion is carried. Okay. Levy. I need a motion to set February 10th, 2020 at 6:30 PM to hold a public hearing on the maximum property tax dollars and authorize the city clerk to publish the maximum levy hearing notice.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Kurt. Okay, thank you.
I was wondering, maybe Al, we've talked about this could be a little confusing for citizens, being it's the first time around. Maybe you could explain why we're having a preliminary public hearing.
The max levy hearing is a new effort for us, as provided for by state statute last year. And there are 5 levies that were required to report the maximum possible levy for this coming fiscal 2021. These are not all of our levies. Debt service, for example, is not included in this levy, and it can go down after this hearing. It just simply cannot go up. So this is the maximum levy on 5 line items that we address on an annual basis only. So when you look at this, this is not our tax levy. It is not our final levy. It will change as we go through the budget process. It just is designed to give the community and the citizens an idea of what these particular levies could be. But again, I want to emphasize it does not include, and most significantly, the debt service levy would be excluded from this report. You'll see more when we get into our final budget approval that has all of the levies included, the final levies. So just bear with us as we go through this process and work with the state gift of a new process.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the February 10th, 2020, 6:30 for this hearing, so that public knows that. But I need a roll call, please.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is a motion to adopt a preliminary resolution pursuant to Section 384.42, the Iowa Code covering the 2020 pavement rehabilitation project.
Good evening, Brian Crawford, Crawford Engineering. So as the mayor said, this is actually these next three items will initiate action on the 2020 street pavement rehabilitation project. That's 17 blocks throughout the city that'll be rehabilitated with crack and seat and ACC asphalt overlay. These are scheduled for construction this year.
Okay?
I'm happy to answer any questions when it's appropriate to do so.
Now, we're able to do more this year because of a grant we got. Maybe you want to explain that?
That's right. We were awarded, the mayor and I were over last year to the Intercog planning session where the city was awarded partial funding, approximately $290,000 of the project is covered by what's called STBG funding. That's the State Transportation Block Grant funding. So that'll cover about 50% of the pavement improvements. So we're able to do, you guys were on budget to do about 8 or 9 blocks a year, and last year we did some full reconstruction work. So this kind of catches us back up with that goal that you had to keep on track with that 8 or 9 blocks a year pavement rehab.
This is a part of our 5-year street program, too.
That's correct. That's correct.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. And I can't find my list, but 8th Avenue Northeast is one of those, there's a section of that.
Yes, sir.
Is that in the same area where we're having all of the water main problems? Or,
My understanding is that is north of where most of the water main problems are. South of the railroad tracks is
Okay.
where the water main problems
Okay.
are. That north, the stretch that is included in this project is
12th to 13th?
11th to 12th.
Okay.
Yep, so it's essentially from the railroad tracks.
Okay.
North to 12th. That's a great question.
Yeah, I just thought if we're gonna have to do something major with that water main, maybe we need to hold off if that block is a part of it, but
Yep.
sounds like that's not the case.
We have not been experiencing those issues that far north. And so we're confident that this will work. We do know 8th Avenue is fraught with problems with water main breaks. I don't, whether it be the soil type interacting with the cast iron pipes or, whatever it might be, but it is pretty consistent south of the tracks.
In addition to the water main, the sewer department did televise the sewers along these routes so that they were confident in the condition of the sewer before we move forward with these surface rehabilitation.
Did they do that with all 17 blocks?
Yes, they did.
Okay, great. Any other
Okay,
question?
I just didn't wanna end up having to do it twice.
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
Roll call, please.
I don't have a motion yet.
Oh, we don't have the motion?
Oh.
Sorry,
Make a
guys.
motion.
I'm really trying to rush tonight, aren't I? Motion by Kurt, second by Hill. No other discussion? Now I'll roll call. Thank you.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, I need a motion to adopt a resolution approving and adopting preliminary plans and specifications, estimate of costs, and plat and schedule.
So moved.
Motion by Kurt, second by O'Loughlin. Any other questions on this part of it? Roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Shar,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes. Hayward,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is a motion to set February 24th, 2020 at 6:30 PM as the date for public hearing and directing publication and mailing of the notice of property owners on the proposed resolution and necessity.
So moved.
Motion by Hill. Second by Callahan. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Shar,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes. Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Excuse me. Next on the agenda is the highway entrance signage plan proposal. We have a couple people here to speak to us about this. Don't know if you want to come forward, or do we want to ask for the motion first?
Thanks.
Okay. You can just put it on her place if you want. You can put it back down afterwards.
I'm short, I have to take this down.
There you go.
My name is Nikki Barth. I'm with the Independence Area Chamber of Commerce.
My name is Joel Olson, 2003 206th Street.
So we're here tonight to present to you the new welcome, or the possible new welcome signs for the City of Independence on the north and the south entrances. You have in your agenda packet, there is the proposed signs, which is on the right-hand side here. Top and the bottom would be the top one is actually from sitting on Fairway by Fairway, in between Fairway and Appliance Plus, where the bike trail is, not behind the sidewalk, but kind of in that ditch area where it goes down, would be the south entrance. And then the north entrance would be the top picture on the left-hand side, right outside by the Falcon Center. And that will go in the same place as the one is right now. So there's a little bit of difference where the placement is only on the south side. If you take a look at those signs on the left-hand side, right now, our city branding is Celebrate Our Spirit, and we have entrance signs in our town that say Proud People Promoting Progress and Welcome to Independence, America's Fame is in our name, neither of which anymore are city branding. So what we're up at the top, you can see that Steve Russell on the right-hand side, this was his first rendering of what he thought maybe the sign could be. The second one down that is hand-drawn is his second rendering. And then, of course, the bottom two are what was proposed. Casey Stoner took the second one down and just put that into what the sign really needs to be when it is manufactured. Joe and I have been to several meetings with Al and Casey. Steve Russell was a part of this. We looked at maybe the mayor was here too, maybe 4 or 5 different variations of the sign, and everyone was unanimously agreed that the two on the bottom right were the ones that were probably the best fit for our city branding. So the city branding, Absolute Indy started that. The Community Visioning Task Force took that over. And with this sign, not only, it's pretty local. We have a local artist, Steve Russell, who had the original rendering. We're using a local sign company who did this bid, was Signs and More. And then local masonry too, with Buchanan County Masonry is the one who would be doing the masonry. And if you notice the bottom of the sign, It is that Anamosa limestone, which is supposed to mimic what the foundation of the mill is, so it's kind of keeping with our history also. One thing I did learn at the last booster meeting is the big Mustang Welcome to Independence signs, home of the Mustangs. They are redoing those also. So this would be a great opportunity for some great entrance way into Independence. I don't know how they're doing them. They didn't propose anything yet, but they are in the process of updating those and maybe doing something different. What this says to me is this is a big investment at about $50,000 for both of the signs, but it's a community investment, which I think goes along with our community pride, and it probably could be a catalyst for great things for Independence also. It's one of those things where you drive in and you see and you remember what that sign looks like when you come in.
And
When I
you,
was taking the pictures of the old signs, I realized that those signs were there when I moved to town in 1975. So they've served us well. It's time for an upgrade. I think when the Iowa Living Roadways folks did visioning in the community, that was kind of the first where they talked about signage entering the town. And so I started noticing entrance signs in other communities and how nice they look. I don't know that in terms of the organizations on that sign from 1970 or whatever it was, are even around anymore. But
Many of them are.
right, but the whole thing of using our brand in a way that reflects what we're up to now and all the things, good things that are happening in our community. I was really impressed with the backlighted sign on the bottom right there, that as you would enter into town, passing Fairway up, elevated above the highway, how great that would look. So I really hope you will consider approving this, and maybe they'll serve us well for the next 50 years. I just think that the time is right. I also understand we've kind of obligated to give the eye signs to the school for the Mustang Way, so they'll be repurposed in a way that will be good for the school.
They're excited to get those also. The superintendent was at the last meeting when we were talking about the possibility of new signs for the city, and then they were talking about redoing the Mustang signs, and they were talking about the eye signs, and he actually said, we're very excited to get those, so probably sooner than later is for them.
I have had a citizen one of their relatives came up with the slogan that's on one of these signs and has expressed, since one of the relatives was involved would like to get one of the I signs. So I just want to put that in the record that.
Well, one of the places that isn't on the picture here is the sign by where the wood duck used to be.
Yeah.
And with the orange fence around it, with the washout behind it.
Oh, that one.
Yes, when the but's ready to fall into the river, yeah.
And I think there's another one down there by the relay station out by MH.
Right,
toward
and Liberty
MH
Head
High. So
Trailhead.
there's a
That
number
one's
of them
really
around.
faded.
Yeah, I just didn't, when I was
Yeah.
trying to put them all on
The
there.
one that looks the best is the one out by, the newest one, out by Heartland Acres Turnoff.
Which is the Welcome to Independence, America's Famous in our name.
Right, that's not the I sign, that's just
No.
the,
Right.
Yep.
So there's really two signs on that, really.
Yes.
so the family that you're talking about is the one that did the people promoting progress?
They came up with the slogan that whenever
I
way
think they got
back.
$10 for it.
Yeah, I think
One to
$5. So it's been a while.
Probably wants to put it on the side of his garage as remembrance.
I really like your design that you came up with. I'm a little concerned on the cost, because we're looking at $27,000 just for the sign itself, and then you're looking at additional cost of the electrical running and that type of thing. Is that something we could maybe have Indytel help us with as far as
we
the
had,
electrical?
right, and I did talk to Indytel, and they felt like they would be happy to help us with the electrical. Both should not be a big issue where they're at. The one on the south side would be a bigger challenge because it's served by REC on that corner, but again, they said they'd be happy to work on that and help us with it. The masonry did come in a little bit higher than they had hoped, but they were able to find that Anamosa limestone, which was significant, and that, I think the material is the biggest part of the cost there, more so than the labor for putting that in.
And what's the estimate for the masonry?
19,500
Is
for the
that-
two
For
signs.
the two.
Would any of these be available for grant? I mean, is there a grant out there?
We did apply for a grant, National Endowment of the Arts grant, and that's part of where some of those renderings that you see were initiated, but that fell through. We do have, as a reminder to the council, 25,000 that was set aside as our matching funds that was earmarked for entrance signs should that grant fall through. The grant fell through, so half of that is earmarked in this year right now for entrance signs.
Is that limestone's what, like Cedar Rapids has underneath our sign?
Looks like
That limestone as you come in from the north?
I think so.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Cedar Falls has a couple of them. They really stand out.
It will be, so it will be like a limestone veneer, but it'll be 4-inch thick limestone veneer is what I was told. Because if we were to get the huge limestone, it would probably be double, even not triple the cost for the masonry. So they will do a block foundation and then put that limestone veneer over the top of that.
Question, we have I know we have an eye on the east end of town on Old 20. I always forget the new name, but Old 20. Will that come down and we just put a simple independence sign up there if we take the other eyes down in different parts of town?
Well, at this point, I think, we've got the independence sign, the DOT independence sign. There are visions for doing something not as elaborate as this, but doing something, a spin-off of this on the east and west, but that would be down the road.
I just didn't want that, we take everything else down and we forget we got another sign. I don't think there's one on the west edge of town.
I think the west one would be the one to Liberty Trail entrance, right? There's not one out past like Norby's distribution? No.
No,
So,
There's 4.
right.
yeah.
And the council did pave the way for the I signs to go to the school district about 3 years ago, subject to having an entrance sign to replace them.
So we have out of the 19 and 27, we've got 25 set aside, so we're about
In-
25 short.
Right.
I think we need signs. This is certainly better than the first estimated sign we had. That one was
Higher.
very high. It was nice, but
The one issue that we have, just so the council is aware, again, we have 25,000 set aside in this budget. This would be, I mean, to take this on, we are asking that we commit in one way or another the 25 in the budget that we're working on currently. We have some money already earmarked for entrance signs in the CIP. We'll go back and revisit that to make sure that there's enough there, but we did have some money earmarked already.
I know we're trying to do this locally. Our cost for our airport signage that we just put up is 1/10 of this.
I would say that the costs, or the airport signage is probably not as important as the entrance to our city. It's not as heavily traveled, people won't see it as much.
I'm
not just saying it's
cost.
not important.
I'm talking
I know.
about the cost.
I know, but it's, there's something being said that this whole project can be local and support people in our community.
well, I guess we might as well decide. I'll make motion that we approve the two signs, north and south.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? I need a roll call, please.
Kurtz,
No.
O'Loughlin,
No.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
No.
It did pass. Okay, motion didn't get carried.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, presenting. Okay, next on the agenda is a motion to accept the bid application preparation proposal from whoever for the sidewalk replacement program for 2020.
We have discussed for some time now with our sidewalk repairs. It's time to take on the sidewalk replacement for those segments of sidewalk that are beyond repair. In order to do this, we would want to go out for bids to find a contractor. We've been saving up so we'd have enough mass, if you will, enough quantity of sidewalk to make it worthwhile. We believe that we have that. We did discuss at Public Works and Government Performance Finance having an engineer design, so we get apples to apples on the bids. This is for creating the bid documents only. It does not go beyond the bid document creation to make sure we get all the pieces in there that we need and aren't missing something. We did have 3 proposals from Fairgram, Bolton and Mink, and Crawford Engineering. They range from $950 to $8,500.
That's quite a range.
Well, the middle one was $3,500.
That's still quite a range.
I was looking at the detail in it, and I can see where Crawford's is a little higher because they put a lot of work into what they submitted. And with our track record on having assessment issues, I want to make sure that we get this right, that we're not left hanging out on a limb again. Do we need to go have this looked at by bond counsel or anything first, since it is going to be involving assessments and that type of thing?
We have talked with bond counsel. We've already initiated that process. At this point, the bid documents, that's why we're stopping at the bid documents. Just have an engineer design it, take us up to the point where we advertise for bids. Once we get the plans, we bring it back to you, ask council to bless us going out for bid, and stop there. Then we have a number that we can share with the residents and do the Chapter 184 special assessment process. But we have a number to give to the, as an estimate to the property owners.
And looking at the listing of all the different sidewalks, it looks like the city's got a significant ownership in this.
We do.
And the handicap accessibility on the corners is going to be
We've got
significant.
12 or 13 ramps that we have to replace in this process. We also have the segments, and we've always taken that first block or that first panel after the handicap ramp as city. We've done it with all the repairs, and I would envision we do it here. We also have a significant amount of sidewalk in Fourth Ward in particular, or excuse me, Second Ward. Get my words backwards. Fourth Ward, Teachers Park. So yes, we know we've got on the list, on the survey list, we have 53 places that the city is responsible, and a fair commitment. But again, at this point, understanding that there is a special assessment process, we wanted to try and garner a square foot cost. This is all based on quantities. The idea is to have a square foot cost for replacement, because in some places our sidewalks are 4 feet, some places they're 5 feet. We have some places where they're 8 by 8 panels that have to be replaced that the city owns. So instead of trying to give an exact dimension on each one, if we're bidded as a quantity and square foot cost, that would give us an idea of what we have to invest in that. The homeowners have the option, and we did send a notice out informing them that we're doing the sidewalk replacement, that they have sidewalks in their property that have to be replaced. We know it's January, they can't do it, we're not asking them to do it right now, We just want to make sure that they're aware of it and they don't get caught off guard. We do have, through the assessment process, another follow-up to initiate the special assessment where we have to send out notice. We believe that if we have a contractor doing the entire city, it's cheaper than a homeowner going out and contracting with a contractor to do the work themselves. Again, just because of volume. If a homeowner decides they want to do the work themselves, they have that right. And they may be able to do it cheaper than a contractor, which is fine. The goal is to obviously repair the sidewalks that are beyond fixing.
One question I'd have here, I see Brian's standing there diligently waiting for our question. Just in looking at your fee, I'm not sure we're comparing apples to apples. You seem to be quoting us the maximum going maybe 2 or 3 steps farther by holding pre-construction conferences and I mean, maybe you could back that up. How much would you actually have in there if you just did the bid specs at this point?
Yeah, I think really the bid specs are really already developed because ADA is already out there. And actually, some of the information I shared with Al just in developing the project, and I have to apologize, I anticipated that this proposal would be discussed at the committee level. I wasn't sure that this was coming for action, so I kind of anticipated we'd be developing the project next week in our committee. So I may have missed something during the last couple of committee meetings, but
This is something that I wish we would discuss at a committee of the whole, this large of an endeavor and financial. I feel it's sprung on me now.
And to answer Bob's question, our proposal does include the detailed plans and specifications where we would go out and individually design each one of those ADA ramps so that, and Al and I have talked about the building department being responsible for the construction oversight, and I think that's a fine idea, but I'm afraid that they're going to struggle if they don't have those detailed design plans to go by. Otherwise, you're relying on the contractor to, and then when it comes time for you guys to approve the bills, you don't have something to go back to where Todd can check off that things were done in accordance with those detailed plans and specifications. So that well-defined scope of work kind of eliminates the fear factor from contractors, I believe. They'll know exactly what the expectations are for the project, and Al's got a lot more confidence, I guess, at this point than I do about that conversation with bond counsel, that's been explored fully. We just took you through earlier in the agenda the assessment process for the streets that we're doing. That's the process that we're familiar with is for the streets, and the competitive bid process and developing plans and specification comes right out of the Iowa Code. So I guess that's where I'm at with it, is the only way I'm comfortable providing a proposal to you guys is doing those detailed plans and specifications. The bid documents that are included in the other proposals, really those things already exist because we have SUDAS code that we go by for doing the ADA ramps. We have material specifications that are in there that you guys have already adopted, and then, of course, the ADA Department of Justice book is the other document that's out there. So the other thing that complicates this a little bit is you do have a mix of both public and private improvements. So that initial contact with the private owners, in order to enact an assessment schedule for that, I think that's pretty delicate going through the Iowa Code for the assessments. So.
And our track record leads us to need to be very specific and very patient with our citizens to make sure we,
Well, and with them having the option of fixing it themselves, what are we gonna run into where they have a curb at an intersection? How far do we let them go before we have to take over if they're doing it themselves? And do they screw something up that we gotta fix then at our expense?
On the survey that we're working off of was that trip hazard survey that was done for the grinding.
Uh-huh.
And I did speak with a gentleman from Northland PCC, and he did say that that was not a full ADA compliant survey, that he was evaluating those for trip hazards, and they simply noted the panels that were beyond that repair item where they needed to be replaced. So I think as we look at replacements, especially at the intersection ramps, we need to look at,
Is there a specific width those have to be, and does the butting up sidewalk have to be that same width?
yes, and that common panel that's at the corner, depending upon what elevation that's at and what slope we can get down to the street, we may have to go back a little bit further, the common panel, and then transition to whatever elevation the rest of that sidewalk is at.
So their
Because
sidewalk might not be in the same place it was.
Right, and the scope, I could see the scope growing a little bit based on the limitations of that initial survey. So that was why I was hopeful that we'd have a chance to consult with bond counsel and talk at the committee level before we moved forward to an action item on this, but that's your guys's.
I guess
Is there any reason we can't push this back?
No.
I would make a motion, we table this for tonight.
I'd second that.
well, and I think we should probably, in fairness to the other firms, probably kind of explain this because, I think Brian's talking about this, and I agree with him. I think we need to be pretty detailed in how we approach this. And, it's not fair to the other two companies to say, here's the little bitty piece we want you to do. So
Well, and to be fair, I've had the same conversation with all three firms, and to the point where I've gone back to Brian 2 or maybe 3 times to make sure we're on the same page, and confirmed with both the other firms the same conversation. Again, just trying to get everybody on the same page. There's not a crisis, we don't have to rush through it, absolutely not, but, and then I would encourage us to, and I talked with Emily Hammond at Bond Council to get to this point. So everything that we've got in front of you here has been through, either the engineers or Bond Council with the same concern that you've expressed. So, but there's no reason not to take it to the committee again.
I would.
I know we'd like to work on it sooner than later, because the earlier we get it in, the better chance we get a contractor lined up to do the repairs.
Which committee would this go to?
This
Finance
would go to
or?
Public Works.
Public Works, okay.
I would tell you that, I agree with you, the earlier the better, but I think this is a large enough project for this type of work. We have time.
I do have a motion and a second on the floor to table this particular item. Is there any other discussion? You want a roll call on this?
Sure.
Go ahead.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Shar,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Okay, motion carried, so it is tabled.
Just till next week.
Thank you.
May not be next time, we'll see where that goes. Okay, next on the agenda, I'm not missing anything.
Oh, one thing, Al, going back here, we had under this sidewalk replacement, we listed the sidewalk replacement master list.
Yes.
Will that, no matter who the engineer is, that's pretty much the sidewalks we're looking at?
That's correct.
Okay, so citizens looked at this, it's not gonna change.
Right.
Change much.
Yeah, and this is based on the information, the most current information we have. PCC did the survey on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Ward. Todd Sherritt's did 1st and 5th Ward this fall. So that's the most current list that we have.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is a motion to approve camera purchase and installation for recycling center.
The council has talked about having an interest in putting together a proposal to Waste Management for reopening the recycling center. We've looked at security cameras, among other things. This is the proposal for security cameras. I know Jay Nissen is here from Waste Management as well. First of all, I wanted to thank Jay because in our conversations, Waste Management has agreed to put the gate back in at their cost. So that takes, I mean, that was the last piece that we were waiting on here. I did go back and have a conversation about the cameras on the G4, the higher resolution cameras specifically, and our project cost did come down from what I have listed here. Since this was published, we're at 6236 estimated for cost to put that in for the higher resolution cameras. There's a couple of things that we have to keep in mind. Waste Management has concurred that we can put the DVR in their building. It has to be climate controlled, but we still have the networking cable to run between the cameras, have to have power at the cameras. In talking with Indytel, they want to take a look at the site specific because it is on Waste Management's property. There are poles there. We want to make sure the cameras are in the right place, but we still have a project with Indytel for the power. Office Town would be doing the networking and the camera installation.
I would make a motion, we approve the G4 cameras. If we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Motion by Kurtz, seconded by
I'll second it.
Hayward.
I do have a question here.
Yeah, me too.
We got, I know we're putting the gate back in, we're putting the cameras up. One of the issues had been the increased amount of usage. The county had been paying for X amount of, cardboard, and even when people were just doing cardboard, that price was going up for the county. And I guess before we get into putting the camera on the gate, I'd like to know who's paying for the extra cardboard that's going in there. I see Gary Issel sitting here in the front row saying, nothing.
Introduce yourself, Gary.
Gary Gissel, Buchanan County Supervisor. That's been one of my questions also. At this time, this recycle center is paid for completely by the county. It's averaging between $2,700 and $2,900 a month for us. And it's being taken out of rural levies, so none of the city levies are used to pay for this. So my question to you is, if we increase the cost of this, who's going to help us pay for it?
That's the white elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm. This was initially set up before my time on the board as a recycle center for rural residents that didn't have recycling at curbside like we do in town. So, and it kind of grew to a waste disposal is what it kind of grew to. And that's why we did what we did with it.
And I know we're trying to make sure that it doesn't become a waste dump again, but
I understand that.
I know there was an increased usage, and if you talk to citizens, they go, well, we pay taxes too, but I think you've explained that it's not, the budgeted item for the county is not coming out of the portion the city people are paying.
It doesn't come from the general county levy, it comes from the rural levy only is where the funds to pay for this come from.
Does anybody know kind of how much it might cost us if we took on our fair share?
Depends on how much use you get, I guess.
That'd be the guy to ask.
I was gonna say,
Come join
Waste
the,
Management's
come
getting
join the
stuff one way or
conversation.
another. They're either getting it in the toters or they're getting it in the dumpsters.
That would be something that we could actually work with the county and the city.
I'd really like to know that before we go ahead and buy cameras and put the gate back in, and I think that's the million-dollar answer question.
Was this, when it was county, only supposed to be used for the county, was it gated at that time?
No.
No.
No, it was open for anybody to come in, and it wasn't, didn't have cameras to know who was coming in. So we're not sure where this increase is coming from.
Well, that's why we were getting a lot of city refuse. I don't want to say recycling because there was a lot of stuff that wasn't recycling that was brought in there, which is why we did what we did with it 8, 9 months ago when we closed the gate up.
Was it supposed to only be for cardboard, or was it for other
For
recycling, but
any
only from
recyclable
county
item.
people?
Any recyclable.
So are
item.
plastic bottles recyclable?
Yep.
Yes.
Glass?
Yes.
Glass.
Glass.
Newspaper?
Garbage?
No.
But those same things, the plastic, glass, and all that stuff is what people can put into their recycling bins at their homes also, for the city
Anything
people.
that's acceptable into the single sort containers is acceptable.
Right.
at the
Okay.
job site.
I think the biggest issue is it just got to the point of so much contamination. Just been unworkable for it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And in this day and age of the cost of recycling, it's more important now than ever to really have a clean stream to be able to process and send out.
But some of the stuff that was being put in there that was contaminating the recycling stuff could have been from county people also?
Could be.
I mean,
We had no way of.
there was no way of knowing. And you're not going to know that if we don't put some cameras up there, if we're going to do anything, to know where this extra is coming from.
Correct.
But I think Gary and the county people were expressing a concern that the usage was going up and their cost was going up before the issue of contamination kind of settled the question.
In trying to kind of keep an eye on it, I work real close there. My shop's right next door. And we found that a lot of the stuff that was coming in there was from commercial users within the city limits of Independence, the businesses. A lot of the cardboard and a lot of the stuff that was coming in was coming from commercial users, which that's not what it was designed for.
Commercial people inside the city limits? And it's not supposed to be for commercial at all, just strictly for people in the county that don't have recycle
Recycling.
bins out front? Okay.
Is cardboard still purchased, or is it a waste product, basically?
No, it's still purchased. We aren't getting nearly what we used to. China kind of ended that at the end of 2017. It is extremely tough right now. It went from 5% contamination rate to a 0.5%. So everything costs more. All the processing plants have had to slow the lines down to clean up the product. Just caused a backlog and
Sure,
just added expense.
sure. What were you saying, you guys paid a month, Gary, 2,700?
It's between 2,700 and 2,900 it's been averaging. The last 6 months have been all right at $2,900 a month.
It's all based on weight.
I'm assuming that's how it's done, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
So the location of this place that we're talking about, gated or ungated, is actually within the city limits, or is it in the county?
No, it's in the city limits.
It's in the city limits, but it's county-owned property, or,
Waste Management owned property.
okay.
They own the property, and they were kind enough, I guess, when this started, like I say, it was before my time on the board. But they were kind enough to let the county use that as a recycling center for rural residents that didn't have curbside recycling at their homes.
Is there signage out there that it's only for county
That's
citizens?
probably one of the problems that we encountered. There was never any signage on it. But it's just over the last probably 2 to 3 years that it really got bad. Up until then, it wasn't a problem.
We have had a lot of new people move into town. That may not be aware of it, too. I mean, that might be a small part of it. Okay.
I hate to keep tabling things, but I don't want to put cameras up, open the gate, and have the county get mad and say, we're not going to have that site anymore, and suddenly we got $2,700 a month added to our budget. I think we need to work out who's paying for what before we I hate to say table again, but
I agree, Bob. I mean, I would be more than happy to work with the city on this, you know, to make it work. I
I think we're just assuming you guys, if
I
it
don't want us
costs
to really run the flow
$3,500, you pay for it.
So,
Oh, absolutely, we can talk.
Make a motion to table it?
the city and we
I
can-
think,
No, we have a motion on the floor to purchase the,
Oh, we gotta
so
go
we
through
have,
that
we
first.
have to take that
Did you have,
for a
you have two
vote.
of them?
Yeah, I have a
Anyway.
motion by
Okay.
Kurtz and a second by
Okay, let's
Hayward.
go around the block then.
To actually
in there.
Withdraw my
purchase.
motion, or, because it hasn't had a second, or we let it
Yeah, it
die?
does have a
It did
second.
have a second.
It has a second.
You
I'll
have the,
withdraw my second if you withdraw your
you have the, excuse me, you
No,
do
you-
have the right to make a motion to table at this point.
I will make a
Even though you have a
to table.
motion, wait, even though you have a motion and a second on something, you don't have to take a vote on that and vote that down before you
It's
make
a-
another motion?
It's a tabling motion. Motion and second opens it up for discussion. You do have the right to make a tabling motion.
On top of a motion and a second we already have. Is
Yes.
that true?
I defer to Alan.
I always thought from Robert's Rules of Order, when you have a motion and a second, you need to settle that particular motion before you make another motion
You
or
have the,
change that motion.
you have the right to do it either way, whichever way you feel most comfortable with.
I would feel more comfortable with finishing up the motion that's on the floor right now with a second.
well, one of
If
the,
you wanna
one of the
vote
problems
that
we're gonna
down.
have is if we vote the cameras down, only somebody that voted no can bring it back to the floor. So, I mean, I guess I'd rather table than to monkey around a month from now.
Well, if
trying
it
to
gets voted
decide.
down, you can bring it up at another meeting. I mean, it's pretty much tabled at that point if you vote it down.
Someone would have to bring it up. I mean, it wouldn't just be on, can't get on it by itself, Benita.
It has to be somebody that voted
Vote
no.
it down.
It'd be appropriate to table because you don't get to tabling without discussion. Discussion opens it up to the determination not to proceed.
That's what I thought. That's what I said. Bob.
Yeah.
Maybe we did that before.
So do the people who made the motion and second in the first place have to make the motion to table it?
No.
No, but they can if it makes you more comfortable.
I just want to make sure we're following Robert's Rules of Order here.
I made the motion to table it.
Is this different than the person that made the other one? Or the
No.
same paper?
Did I second it?
Yes, you did.
I will
Second?
second it to
The
table.
motion to table it. Okay, so now we're allowed to have a vote on this, or do I dare ask for any more discussion? Or
No, you
just
can proceed, and
ask-
just to make you more comfortable, Robert's rules are aspirational. Nothing's going to be invalidated by not following Robert's rules to a T. So I think we're all in agreement here that this is an appropriate procedure.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor to table this matter. You want a roll call on this?
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes,
Hill,
Yes.
Shar,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to table is carried.
Thank you, Gary.
Next on the agenda is a motion to set a public hearing on February 10th, 2020 to amend City Code Chapter 105. Do we even need this since we're tabling the other
become
one?
moot.
Yes, this would not be necessary at this
Okay.
point because this is tied directly to enforcement of illegal dumping at
Okay.
the recycling center. Oh,
Do we need to make
Chief
a
has it.
motion to table it?
one question, one good thing.
Sit down, Dustin.
I know.
What are you questioning, setting the motion
No,
or?
not questioning. This actually does, it mainly addresses the recycling, but also addresses like our tree dump and some other things of throwing stuff down there. It increases the fines on that and what we can cite it for. So it has more than just one property in it. If you go, let's see, where's that?
The 105 does?
yes.
Yep, 105, we moved number .12 to .13, the items that are lined below. Reusable waste containers and, sorry, maybe I was in the wrong one, but I know it talks about yard waste. Like I said, this will, it also increases the fines to $100 for the first time and $250 for any subsequent after that. So this not just it talks about the possibility of the recycling center, but also works into our our tree dump as well. So
And
it's twofold.
fine for that. So we still need to have the public hearing?
We can wait till later, but I just wanted to address that it was not just for the recycling center itself.
I think once we decide what we're doing at waste management, we can come back and address
Okay.
the tree dump part of it.
Okay.
If we choose not to do that.
And Chief, it doesn't specifically address cameras, correct? Your understanding?
What?
It doesn't specifically address cameras.
No.
No,
It's setting the
this-
rules that
this
you
was
then
just
would
setting-
enforce with evidence from the cameras.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, can I move forward? To E? Next is a motion to consider terminating existing waste management contract and go out for proposals. I thought we decided not to do that, or does
This-
that need to be?
This was a request by Councilperson Hannah to address this on the council. This did come out of committee, the Government Performance Finance Committee with a recommendation not to do this, but Ms. Hannah did ask that it be on the agenda for council consideration. So it is presented as requested.
I'd like to make two comments on this. One, we've been through looking at bids before, and two things really jumped out at us the last time was the alternative companies that had a dependable equipment was one big thing, and I think even bigger for us to consider is waste management indemnifies us for our waste where it goes. And what that means is that whatever landfill they're shipping to, if that closes, we're not going to be paying thousands of dollars down the road for monitoring wells, which none of the other bidding companies were willing to do. So, you know, if a company sends it to Black Hawk County landfill and that closes, we could be on the hook for thousands of dollars on indemnifying that for the monitoring, and that's astronomical. I can't even right now remember how much we pay for the old Buchanan County landfill, but we're still paying several thousand a year for monitoring wells and testing, and that was supposed to last only a couple of years, but it seems to have gone on for.
We're getting closer. There's a meeting on it tomorrow night.
That's another thing I can enlighten you a little bit about. I've been working with the DNR and over the last year and a half or 2 years, and we are getting some of our inspections, some of our costs, and some of our testings eliminated. I think we're going to get the costs on that thing come down a bunch here within the next year or two.
How many years have we been testing?
Ugh.
It's way before me.
That's an expensive proposition if
It
that.
is, but it's, we're getting that cut back finally.
Hate to have us have something else come up.
There is a landfill meeting tomorrow night out at the Public Health Department office,
Yeah,
if you want to attend.
I'm not interested, it's kind of garbage to me.
The third of 3 meetings tomorrow night, same location.
No, that's just from past experience. I think Carl went through that too.
Yes.
Okay, so this motion was put on the agenda by your request, Deb. Do you have any comments on this, or?
I've just heard a couple companies that would be interested in giving us bids, and so that's why I asked for it to be on there. It doesn't ever seem like I heard a price check.
You have a couple of companies who have talked about wanting to give bids?
There were a couple,
Yeah.
there were a couple companies that wanted to give bids.
If you open this up, there's no question that you will hear from other companies. I would reaffirm that. I think there's enough interest in a town the size of Independence that you'll have some attention. But, you know, from a staff standpoint, we don't have a stance on this one way or the other. That would be a council decision.
Are you wanting to make a motion on this, Deb?
Well, if the information is accurate that you guys are putting out there, that it could cost us more, I don't know. I just think it's worth listening to somebody's price bids, but
So is that a no, you don't want to make a motion? That's what's on, that's what's on the agenda. I'm sorry?
Didn't want to do it? Which committee was it that didn't want to do it?
Well, this went through Government Performance and Finance Committee.
So 3 people on the finance committee were against it?
Yes.
I'm seeing
three of you?
I'm seeing head shake yes.
Okay. I'll go with that decision.
So we can just skip over this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for having discussion.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Tier 2 report bids. A motion to award a bid to blank in the amount of blank for the Tier 2 report completion.
We did gain our innocent landowner designation through the DNR, which moved us to the next step of required testing, which is the Tier 2 report. We received 3 bids to complete the Tier 2 report, Terracon, Impact 7G, and Blackhawk Environmental Testing. Blackhawk Environmental Testing was the low bid at $13,850, Impact 7G at $16,575, and Terracon at $20,045.
I'd make a motion to accept the low bid.
I second it.
And which one was that? Fill in.
Blackhawk Environmental Testing.
Do we have bond, or do we
At
have
what amount?
grants for this?
DNR does pay for this with their innocent landowner fund, and that's why that designation was significant for us. They, in talking with the DNR, they said this would come in between 15 and 20,000, dead on the money. That's what we're seeing. So they are paying for the testing of the Tier 2 testing, this next phase. This test, or this report rather, is required to be submitted to the DNR no later than, I think, at the end of May of this year.
Okay, so we have a motion for Blackhawk at the $13,850. Do I hear a second for that?
Second.
Callahan did? I'm sorry, Jen. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next is a motion to approve the TAP grant application for Enterprise Drive Trail Phase 2.
Not sure we know this guy.
So this one is application for partial funding that they make available through Intercog. This is actually how part of the Phase 1 trail that went from 3 Elms Road down Highway 150 and over to the east entrance of Walmart. So what you have in front of you tonight is going from where it terminated there at the east entrance of Walmart and proceeding west along Enterprise Drive. And then it'll go north along 6th Avenue Southwest up to, it'll tie in with Olds subdivision, the sidewalk that's up there at Olds subdivision. So that's the project that we're talking about.
But this goes on what part of Intercog? Isn't this 2023, 24?
Correct. This will be
Which
an
one?
application. There's a programming meeting that they'll have in March where they will receive and hear presentations and applications similar to what we went to for the
Right.
street project a couple years ago. They'll hear those in March. So this application is due sometime next month. Al, do you remember what the date, February date is that?
No, I think was it the third Thursday in March? But the regular monthly meeting.
Yep.
Put it in about that date so it gets on top, right?
Is that the strategy? Okay, we'll try.
That's part of it.
We were successful last time with
The
the funding application, so we're hopeful that we'll be successful.
Will this take us all the way around the corner to the old sidewalk?
It will
Yes.
take
Up,
us.
up
yes,
to O's Edition
right.
sidewalk. It won't go beyond that.
Correct.
while we're programming for 23-24 fiscal year, it's important to be prepared because we have had these move up on their agenda. If somebody drops out, they can't complete their project, their funding fell through on the local side. We do have to be ready to do this as early as '21. I hate to say that because it gets our hopes up. We're really asking to do it, which would be, in essence, the summer of '24, but being prepared because we have it ready to go to do it earlier.
What point from Lover's Lane to Bland Boulevard, what type of time frame are we looking for that section of trail?
Well, that'll depend on, we can do it whenever we want to write the check, at this point. But if we're working on funding sources, it's when we can get the matching funds through any number of programs that would, be appropriate for that.
So that couldn't be added to this?
No, this, first of all, because of the size of the project, this is really going to maximize what the TAP program has available for us. This is $450,000. If we took all the money that was available, I think this is an 80-20 match.
Up to 80-20, but most of the time they don't fund the full 80%. What they're looking for is a community match. So this,
50/50?
yep, roughly 50-50 is what they're looking for.
We've been in that 50 to 60%
Yep.
range on the TAP programs that we've done to this point. So that's the realistic dollar amount. So it doesn't make sense to add it because we're paying 100% of it anyway. It may be a project that we can put into TAP program next year. I mean, that would be a strategy. There are some other programs that we can look at as well. But right now, there are no outside dollars for that 6th Avenue along Lover's Lane to Bland.
So this is a motion to approve the TAP grant application for that
I'd make a
period.
motion to approve it.
Second that.
Motion by Kurt, second by Hayward. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Shar,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes?
Thank you, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to be in another meeting together, huh? Sounds like fun. Next on the agenda for discussion is the Ward 4 sidewalk notification listing. This again was by request of Councilwoman Hannah. Not sure where you want to start with this, Deb?
Yes, the people that didn't pay for it, and I guess don't have any legal obligation to pay for it, why don't we go after our insurance that we worked so hard on, that John Kurtz and Al worked so hard on last year, to recoup our money?
Well, we have made an inquiry into the insurance company. I don't have a response for you. They haven't responded to our requests yet, so I don't have an answer on that side of it. Concerning the properties that you have here, we do have 16 people who have paid a total of just shy of $3,800 on the project so far.
But that still leaves us like 13,000 short.
That's correct. Now, one of the issues that has created a little bit of a issue for me is that we have sent this out. We were requested to send it out. I thought it was a good idea. It was something we were working on. But we do have council members encouraging people to ask for refunds or not to pay. And so I'm confused by which way we're going with this, whether we're, these are invoices. We have no legal ramifications for not paying, but it puts us in a spot where we send out the invoice, try to be polite about it, but I don't want to do that if we're telling people not to pay. I mean, it puts us in a bad light. So we're
Well, it was our mess up not to send the letters, and the people didn't have the right to do it. That is my ward, and I heard a lot of complaints about it, of course. And the one thing that we didn't involve, and I don't know if he's there tonight, is Todd Sherritt. We never had his input, and he's our code enforcer, and it'd have been nice to hear his input into it.
Into sending out the letters, or what?
I thought it would be a good idea to send out the letters.
You
I talked to Al about that.
Because you requested to send the letters out.
Yes, I did. I asked about that. But then when I get a call that they say, you know, I went down and paid mine, and my neighbor said that they just called and they just crossed their name off. So, you know, it almost should be one way or the other. And it was the city's fault that they didn't send the letters out. So, you know, is there a legal obligation they have to pay? We have an attorney sitting there, so there's a question for him.
Well, I don't want to put the attorney in a spot to try and give you legal advice in a public meeting. That would be inappropriate. You do have in the executive portion of your council agenda, the city attorney's comments on this topic. So it'll be actually on the next agenda item under the executive content. But, you know, the issue is one way or the other. We're fine sending it out. I think it's a legitimate request. We inform them of work that was done on their property on their behalf, and they receive the corresponding invoice.
But were they informed before?
No, that's why they were not specially assessed. That is correct. And again, that's a conversation that we've had. We've gone down that road. My concern is, and, you know, this is the listing. This is what you requested. We put in front of you.
So I just want to get this straight for my own. So the people aren't paying because they didn't get the notice, or?
They did receive the notice.
Okay.
Some people are paying, some have opted not to pay.
Okay.
The issue that we're running into is people being told not to pay after we send the invoice.
Okay.
And that creates the challenge for us. I don't care which way we go with it, but to be fair, we should do it one way or the other.
There were some people on Ward 4 that did not get the notice in order for it to be assessed to their properties. And when we realized that happened, that's when we stopped repairing and went through the process of getting everybody else notified, so theirs can be assessed against their property. And then it was requested by Deb that we send a letter to the rest of them asking for their payment, which is what we've done, and this is a list of those people. And in that letter specified that we could not assess their properties because they hadn't received the other one, and some of them went ahead and paid the invoice. Now at least one, that's the next one on the item, is asking for a refund. And we have council members even telling them to ask for a refund after requesting to send the letters, the invoices to begin with.
I think you better be a little more specific than saying council members, because I don't want to be associated with that.
Okay, Councilperson Hannah did inform people to come in and ask for a refund.
Okay.
And I also talked to Todd Sherritt, and he asked me to have those people call. Once again, that is my ward.
Okay, but you requested us to send the invoice, right, to the people that weren't assessed? You had made
I
that,
asked for that, but then afterwards I had a conversation with Todd Sherritt, and he, I hate to tell him what he talked to me about, but his opinion is different than mine. I thought when I asked for it, it seemed like a good thing, but maybe it wasn't. So there I'm just asking that we have the insurance, and can we check into it that way and recoup our money?
We have put the inquiry into the insurance company.
Right. So,
And as Al mentioned, you can imagine what my opinion would be were I to provide one in open session based upon the memo on the next issue.
well, I was hoping this would never get to the council, this whole thing about the guy getting the money. It should have been, my opinion, should have been decided when they come in and ask for their money back. Deal with it then, and don't dump it on us 7 council people to vote whether one person is going to get their money back or not, when 60 didn't pay? What are we gonna do about that?
That's the problem. We didn't get the assessment out, so therefore we are stuck holding the bag.
This is not an action item, this is a discussion. Your action item is actually I.
The next item on the agenda.
That's correct.
All right.
So if we're done with the discussion part, there's no more discussion, then the next item on the agenda is the fact of a motion to, we have at least one person that sent a letter requesting a refund out of the 16 people that paid.
That's correct.
And that's the one that you have an attachment that is advice from the city attorney that only you as council members have. That's not public information. But you need to address this person's request for a refund.
I don't know where transparency's at, but I don't see it in this.
So the request for a refund comes from a person who was not assessed.
Right, that the other letter went out with the
Was
invoice.
invoiced.
Right,
Paid it, and that wants
and one person has requested then, because he was told he should or could, to have a refund of that amount. And do you know what the amount is that that person's able to?
185 something.
$185 and such?
96 cents.
Yeah.
Correct.
I make a motion, we pay him.
I'll second that.
I second it.
Yeah, Bob already did. Do you
Sorry, I
have
didn't
something
hear.
on this as far as what funds we can do this from, or how that does for the process of our accounting for the state auditor?
No, the only thing that I would request is that the motion contain that this will be in addition to your claims listing previously approved during this meeting, because they'll run the claims listing versus what we actually paid and
Sure.
find a discrepancy.
Sure.
So I want it in the minutes so that when they go to them to review it, they can see that it was an addition after you approved it.
I'll amend my emotion that way.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever you said.
Thanks.
So how many motions do we have on the ground floor now?
I do want to make a comment. The city council did make a good attempt to do the sidewalk thing properly this year. And we were on confusing advice that we could do it such as we do with snow removal or lawn mowing, that we could abate the problem and just build and assess the homeowner. As it turned out, we were given confusing advice that we failed to understand properly, is the best way I can describe it. And I guess kudos to the people that had the work done and were invoiced and paid for it. Thank you. It wasn't intended to have you avoid having to pay for it. And it's something you can think about in your sleep, and if you can rest with yourself, not getting something for nothing, then you did. But the citizens of Independence are gonna pay for it, one way or another. That's all I have to say.
So the motion is by who? Who made the original motion?
Shire, second by Hill.
Okay, and that includes the fact of this taking this out of the claims?
Adding it to the claim.
Yeah, no,
Adding it to tonight's claims that we approved earlier?
It would be a motion to approve the reimbursement and adding it in addition to what was previously approved in this meeting.
Okay, and that's okay, is how that
Correct.
motion is made? Both?
Otherwise,
Okay.
we'd have to wait a
So is
long
everything set up for this not to happen in the next round of?
Yes.
Okay, because we're setting a terrible precedent.
We could get 50 more requests. Okay, roll call.
Shire,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
The motion is to pay?
Yes. To
Yes.
Okay,
Callahan,
yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Motion carried.
Do we need to make a separate motion to add to the claims?
No, I got it all.
She
in
made
one.
it as part of that
Thank you.
emotion itself. So did we eliminate the property disposal?
Yes.
Part of the agenda?
Yes.
We have reports on there though.
Do we need the reports before the closed hearing?
We have, maybe we would, so then if there was any people that wanted to leave prior to that, like department heads or anything like that, they could speak.
Okay. So we do have, the last thing on our agenda is going into a closed session, and so instead we're moving up reports. Is there any of the council committee reports that have to be entered in tonight at this point?
We haven't any.
Next,
No?
No.
Okay.
next week.
Question? Are we having government, performance finance committee meeting Monday or Tuesday?
Monday.
Okay.
It's just the meeting itself that night has
Yeah,
been changed.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't move everything back.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification, but no, it will be on Monday at 8.
That's fine.
And public safety on Tuesday.
Public safety Tuesday at 3:30. And Public Works Monday at 2 o'clock.
The only staff person, other than the city clerk and city manager, is Dustin. Do you have anything you need to report at
Dick
this
back
point?
there, too.
Is Dick?
Yeah.
Well, he's hiding. You're gonna have to stand up, Dick, so I can see you. Do you have anything, either one of you two have anything you would like to report?
Not a whole lot to report, other than we do have the grass truck is in finally. It's not, can't look at it tonight. Blake took it down to Brandon for the county meeting, but it's been in. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at it.
Sure.
Nice looking truck. I think it's going to work out real well for us. Also, gear has been ordered. I haven't got a confirmation as to when it will be delivered, but I think they were 8 to 10 weeks out or something, so it'll be a little while yet. But that's about the only things I've got to report. I did submit the annual report for last year. A little different format, I think, than what has been out there. So if you didn't know if anybody's got any questions on that or anything there, but otherwise, no, I think everything's going well, so.
We had a bit of excitement, was it a week ago? The airport?
Out to the airport, yeah, that was a little exciting. If you want, yeah. So could have been worse, but, yep. Nope, I haven't had a helicopter crash. We've had a couple of plane crashes out there, but that's the first helicopter crash that I'm aware of out there, so. It was exciting for a while.
I think emergency management liked your new truck too. We're envious. Thought it was gonna work great.
Yeah, I think so. They stopped and looked at it, so.
Yeah.
Should give us lots of years of good service, so,
Oh, yeah.
yep.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dustin, do you have anything? Gina, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so.
Al, anything?
2 items, I did put them on your, under staff reports. The Chamber Annual Banquet is coming up in February. Anybody that's interested in going, please let us know. We do have a number of seats that the city is entitled to, so let us know if you're interested in going. Also, the Northeast Iowa League of Cities did send out a request for some information, a survey, so if you have any input, they would appreciate it. We did include our membership for this year for the Northeast Iowa League, but the survey asked for some information that you as council members may have or input from you concerning the Northeast Iowa League. That's all I have.
Are we members since we're on the city council?
Yes, you are.
I would request that we sign for our young people here before we go into closed session.
Yes, I did visit
Yeah.
with at least one gentleman, and I encourage them to, we'll take care of that before we go into our closed session. We will have to take a couple of minute break so we can get some phone things worked out as well, so.
Any other comments for reports? Then we will be going into closed session, so all of you students who have papers you need to have signed, we will take a little break right now from our regular council agenda, and you can get signatures as you need.
Here you go.
I don't know how many signatures